Creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision, Asian Eyes.
Hello and welcome to AVN, your weekly roundup of the... Bird lovers and experts have sounded alarm bells over the disappearance of yellow-tailed black cockatoos from the Eyre Peninsula. Ecologists say bushfires and land clearing has decimated their natural habitat and drastic intervention is needed. Jodie Hamilton reports.
This is the last known family of yellow-tailed black cockatoos on the Eyre Peninsula.
I think the chance of the yellow-tailed black cockatoo surviving another 10 years is pretty unlikely.
Sadly, I just think they'll be gone. We're so low numbers now, so yeah.
There are estimated to be fewer than a dozen of them left, with a century of land clearing and the 2005 Wangari bushfire destroying their habitat.
We're still living the legacy of what happened back then.
National parks have been monitoring the decline of the yellow-tailed black cockatoos for decades. The cockatoos have captured the hearts of the local community in the two migration zones, around the Kopio Hills and Mount Damper region.
This is them in some of the Aleppo pine trees.
Marcia Jericho is known as the Cocky Lady. She ran a network of people who monitored the birds for several decades.
The conditions of the day, which direction the cockatoos flew in from.
And we were dropped off a calendar each year, or cocky calendar we called it. And whenever you'd hear them, we'd rush outside and count them up and that.
Over the years, community members and park rangers have worked to try to repopulate them, including taking eggs to Adelaide to hatch and returning the chicks to Eyre Peninsula with little success.
The young birds, unfortunately, hadn't learnt from their adults and were silly enough to do things like forage on the ground and get eaten by foxes, so their death rate was quite high.
The experts say translocating adults to the region might be the only chance for survival.
Perhaps we could find a benefactor who could take on, looking after the cockies.
But with the existing cockatoos on the Eyre Peninsula nearing the end of their lives, that someone needs to be found urgently. Jodie Hamilton, ABC News, Port Lincoln.
Amrit Udyan, the iconic garden at President House in the Indian capital of New Delhi, opened its gates for an exclusive media preview. The grand floral spectacle will be accessible to the general public from February 2nd to March 30th, 2025, except on Mondays. DD India's correspondent Kriti Vadera reports.
Journalists and photographers were given a first-hand glimpse of the meticulously curated blooms and thematic garden sections of Amrit Udyan. Known for its seasonal floral diversity, Amrit Udyan showcases a vibrant array of tulips, roses, and indigenous plant species. The garden's attractions include bonsai collections, a circular garden, and herbal garden, among other features. Officials highlighted the eco-friendly initiatives undertaken this year, including sustainable gardening techniques and enhanced visitor amenities. With its spectacular view, breathtaking flowers and lush green gardens, Amrit Udyan is all set to host visitors from February 2nd. You can visit online for registration to visit these beautiful gardens, which remain a major attraction every year. With camera person Mukesh, I am Kriti Vadera reporting from New Delhi for DD India.
Native wildlife poaching is regulated by each state and territory with penalties including jail time or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most permits allowing invertebrate collection in protected areas are for science. People who farm insects to sell need a license, but the industry is aware of poachers trading collected bugs, saying they've ethically captive bred misleading customers.
They're not cute and cuddly, but to some, bugs are the coolest creations.
They're recycling, they're pest controlling for free, they're pruning your plants, they're the fast food in nature.
Appreciation for these critters could be what's driving the popularity of insects as pets, with even some cockroaches commanding a high price.
Anything up to $80 a cockroach.
Capturing bugs in the wild to sell as pets can be a lucrative game, but it's a legal and ethical minefield. Native wildlife poaching is regulated by each state and territory, with penalties including jail time or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most permits allowing invertebrate collection in protected areas are for science. People who farm insects to sell need a licence, but the industry is aware of poachers trading collected bugs, saying they're ethically captive bred, misleading customers.
They need to be empowered to make good decisions to make sure they're getting their pets from people who are not taking things from the wild and selling them directly on, but are rather rearing things sustainably.
If somebody is supplying 200 scorpions every month or even more to various pet shops, they're almost certainly not captive breeding them.
That insect can't do its special job on a planet which Dr. Umbers says is under stress by land clearing and climate change.
You could ask the same question of taking a platypus out of the wild or a koala out of the wild. That animal can no longer do its function in the ecosystem.
But growing insect interest could solve the sticky situation.
There's a lot of young people coming up through the ranks now who have been influenced, and there's been a paradigm shift, I think, around the way we treat bugs and the way we care for them and what we think about them.
Helping little bugs make a big difference. Sophie Landau, ABC News.
Authorities says a marine heat wave is the likely culprit behind the deaths of more than 30,000 fish in West Australian waters earlier this month. With the harsh conditions expected to last through the summer, there are growing fears the damage could spread down the coast.
A massive fish kill in WA's north, and worries more is still to come.
It's on a scale which is very similar to the heat waves that we had in 2010, 2011, which really led to some significant fish mortalities.
Water temperatures near the state's north coast are currently 4 to 5 degrees Celsius above the long-term average, while in the Gascoyne bioregion they're 2 to 3 degrees higher than normal. This ocean glider is being prepared to probe how deep the problem goes.
There are ocean robots that we put in the water, and we basically pilot them through satellite from this lab.
First detected in September last year, marine heatwave conditions are predicted to continue through January and February.
It's very much related to climate change. Our temperatures are warmer than what it is before, so when we have these heat waves, we have a much more severe effect of these events.
It's fueling calls to protect WA's precious marine environments, like the World Heritage listed Ningaloo Reef.
It's not hypothetical. It really needs to see a response, which is to not make things worse by opening up new oil and gas fields, for example.
Officials are comparing the heatwave to the summer of 2010 to 2011, which saw ocean temperatures of WA reach record levels. The effects are still being felt by some fisheries more than a decade later, and locals are fearful history might repeat. In Shark Bay, more than 1,300 square kilometres of seagrass were wiped out by the 2010-2011 heatwave. Indigenous-owned business Tidal Moon has been working to restore the underwater meadows.
When we lose something as significant as a seagrass meadow through an intense heatwave, that will have ongoing effects through all types of plants and animals.
Waves of uncertainty on WA's beloved blue waters. Alistair Bates, ABC News, Shark Bay.
Hundreds of people have taken part in some old-fashioned fun in Tasmania's northwest. Onlookers at the Hanley on Mercy event were treated to much-anticipated ferret races, along with boot throwing, lawn mower racing, and the classic egg and spoon race.
They're long, fluffy, and surprisingly make great little athletes.
We're feeling good. I don't know how we'll go. It's the first time, so we'll see.
These tiny fashion icons have been put through their paces, darting through tubes and cages across a range of surfaces. The winner, whoever gets through first without turning around.
The only thing probably to our advantage is that we hunt our ferrets and they go down the burrows and run through the holes and things like that. But sometimes it's an advantage, sometimes it's not.
I just love them. I've had them for years and they're just like a cat and dog mix, kind of, and a little bit of a rat.
It's been a rigorous training session to get these pint-sized little fluff balls into shape. Many competitors have tracks at home to make sure they're in tip-top condition. It didn't quite work out for Bailey this year, but there's always next year. The Henley-on-Mersey event in Latrobe returned last year after a 3-year hiatus. It's been running for more than 100 years and celebrates agility, determination and the Aussie give-it-a-go attitude.
Last year we had over 6,000 come through. I reckon we've hit over 7,500 today.
And there was plenty to keep everyone entertained. The woodchoppers kicked off early, impressing onlookers with their clean cuts. The knights were ready for battle, while the lawnmower racers certainly kicked up some dust. And on Kids Island, hobby horse racing and the thongaphone were popular hits.
The community wanted it and they want more, so that's what we're going to give them.
Organisers say the event will be returning next year, giving those who didn't secure a victory another year to train up their skills. Jessica Moran, ABC News, Latrobe.
A former senator for South Australia says there are documents which show the state's defence industries minister met with the defence company in the UK to discuss nuclear reactors and radioactive waste. Rex Patrick has obtained details showing it was a topic raised with defence industries during a government trip to Britain last year.
On the day of Donald Trump's inauguration, a press conference at Osborne and reassurances AUKUS is still on.
My state and this government is all in on AUKUS.
Key to the agreement between the US, UK and Australia is the construction of nuclear submarines in Adelaide's Osborne shipyards. But that's led to questions. How will the site handle the nuclear technology and the waste it ultimately creates?
Decisions around high-level nuclear waste are decisions that last for generations upon generations. They are not decisions that should simply be made and presented as a fait accompli.
A former senator and submariner, Rex Patrick, is running for the Senate again as the South Australian candidate for the Jackie Lambie network. He's obtained documents through Freedom of Information that include a briefing paper from a trip the Treasurer and Defence Industries Minister Stephen Mulligan made to the UK late last year. It says that he would discuss defence company Babcock's approach to nuclear-powered submarine sustainment, defuelling and disposal, including radioactive waste management. Rex Patrick says it's a sign there are plans underway for the nuclear submarines to be defuelled and dismantled at Osborne.
I don't think it's reasonable for Rex Patrick to insinuate that that was the focus of the discussions, because that wasn't the focus of the discussion.
The minister says the focus of the discussions with Babcock was on how it manages its relationship with the local community as the state government embarks on a plan to triple the size of the Osborne shipyards, a challenge when locals are already voicing concerns about the program.
The main thing is they haven't told us anything. Every step of the way we've been ambushed. We weren't informed, we weren't asked whether we wanted an AUKUS facility in our neighbourhood.
Late last year, legislation passed federal parliament allowing nuclear waste to be stored at Osborne. But the government insists it will only be low-level material, with a location for any high-level waste storage still to be decided. Leah McLennan, ABC News.
Global warming threatens survival of polar bears in Canada's Hudson Bay.
Scientists in Canada have been counting the calories of polar bears to find out how much energy the huge predators need and how they are being affected by the global warming. The bears hunt seals across the Arctic ice, but the hunting season is shrinking year by year as the ice melts more quickly. That means a poor diet affecting the health of mothers and cubs. The bear depends on the platform of ice which forms each autumn in the bay, from which they hunt for seals, but in the summer the sea ice melts, forcing the bears to come onto land and sometimes into towns.
For a bear of a given size that comes on land, we can say how long that bear can go for without taking in energy based on our understanding of how they're burning their limited energy reserves. So after around 117 days without eating, we know that reproduction is impacted because mothers struggle to provide milk for their cubs.
They rely on the fat reserve they have built up over the winter to survive the warmer seasons, which are set in longer. The BBC travelled with a team of conservation scientists from PBI to search for bears in the subarctic just a few miles from Churchill, Manitoba.
10 years ago, the sight of a six-toothed skink in Darwin would send reptile scientists into a frenzy. Now it seems the Arnhem species has colonized the city, and scientists want the public's help to track its spread.
Meet the six-toothed rainbow skink, native to Australia but not to Darwin. But over the past 10 years, their numbers have boomed.
These things will wander up onto the back porch looking for food, and we watch them from our pool eating insects.
They're normally found in far north Queensland and the far northeast Northern Territory. Humans most likely brought them further west. With the help of decades-old specimens from the NT Museum's vast collections, this PhD candidate is trying to piece together their spread.
This species seems to be spreading across Darwin. And one of the first things we want to do is get a lot of records across the town of where they are and where they aren't.
Top-end residents are the research team's eyes and ears on the ground. By recording the skinks you see in your own backyard and uploading them online, you can help the researchers understand more about the spread of the six-toothed rainbow skink in the top end.
Yeah, I'd be really interested in knowing what suburbs they occur in. Should we go have a look around here? Yeah, let's do it. There's one. There's one right there. Get him. Got him. Six-toothed rainbow skink. Very pretty lizard. But they're not meant to be here.
A lot larger than local skinks, they're easy to spot at home. But unlike notorious Australian invaders like the cane toad, they're not necessarily problematic.
I certainly wouldn't encourage people to do anything about them. Like at the moment, they're just delightful little lizards in people's backyard. Enjoy them while they're here.
Building a clearer picture of a mysterious critter. Lillian Rangia, ABC News.
About 1 billion disposable coffee cups end up in landfill across the country every year, according to the New South Wales Environmental Protection Authority. One town on the state's far south coast is trying to change that, one cup at a time.
Mr Hope, the cafe that Yuki Bird manages in Bermagui on the New South Wales far south coast, is a community hub.
The biggest thing that coffee does for people is bring them together.
But being environmentally conscious in the hospitality industry is a challenge.
Cafes suffer in the exact same way as anybody who's interested in more environmental ways to consume.
Takeaway coffee cups being at the centre of the waste problem. Just down the street, Tim Northam's cafe Honor Bread is selling up to 250 takeaway coffees each day.
For the privilege for people just to be able to walk down the street or drink their coffee and then throw it in the bin, I think we need to have a really big rethink.
So, nearly a dozen of Bermagui cafes came together to ban disposable cups. It's now bring your own or purchase a reusable one for the price of a couple of gold coins.
For a one-time only fee of $3, you get your cup and then you will get that refunded when you bring that cup back.
The initiative means all cafes sell the cups and any can refund them after use. Getting the majority of the town's cafes on board was crucial.
The biggest fear for cafes to change across from throwaway cups to a reusable system is a fear that the customer will then go to the cafe next door.
A disposable coffee cup has an average lifespan of up to 20 minutes. And after the beverage is finished, around 1 billion cups end up in Australian landfill each year. Cafes here in the coastal town of Bermagui are hoping the reusable system will keep cups circulating for much longer.
The community has been supportive and people are getting creative.
Everyone should just have a go of a coffee in a goblet once in a while, I reckon.
It's only $3, so it's not like breaking the bank with it.
And I think it's a great kind of sustainable initiative.
The new system was launched at the start of summer, a busy tourist period being the ultimate test.
So managing things like how we're going to cope with our washing up, how we're going to make sure that we have the right volume of cups.
It hits really hard with lots and lots and lots of people, so I'm unsure if we're going to be able to prevail. Hopefully we will be able to.
But Bermagui remains positive and wants others to follow their lead.
The cafes in Bermagui are actually, in one sense, becoming a test case for how communities might be able to make this change in themselves.
Reducing landfill one latte at a time. Isla Evans, ABC News, Bermagui.
And that's all we have for now. Thank you all for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant day ahead.
Creating a news agenda that reflects an unbiased view of Asian current affairs without relying on external news sources. Asia Vision. Asian news through Asian eyes.
राज्य एक्सोदं अन्नमुंदा बदलतक तरक्कीगे मशरूतं हिंगा नुहिंगा गुत्गे मौलूमात आम रैयतुन्न मुहिमुवाने मिकंकंगे एम्मे फहुगे तफसीली मौलूमात गेनिस्तेनी मी प्रोग्रामु
इज्तिमाई रक्कात्रिकं कशव